Hi, everyone. I'm Deborah Gardner with Hospitality Today Live, and I want to welcome you back to our show, our weekly show, where we have such amazing guests, and we just enjoy each and every one of them because they're able to share their perspective, their opinions, their stories, their advice and tips, everything that they bring to the table just for you, the viewers. And again, we have another amazing guest here. We're talking about Yvonne Basten. She is from Canada. And she actually is the founder, owner, creator of eventmanagement.guru. And is she ever a guru? She's brilliant. She's beautiful. She's worldly. She knows so much and has been in the hospitality industry for a number of years that she cannot wait to share what I even know that she's going to share. And that is the power of hosting online enrollment events. How do you do that? Along with how do you build relationships with audiences online? And she also has some tips for your audiences, your attendees, your participants to help elevate their success at your events. So you're not going to want to go far on this one. You'll definitely want to stick around because we're going to all be back with you to really showcase what events is all about right now, what's going on, and we want you in the conversation as well. So jump on the chat and we'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. This episode is hosted by Pickles, a fun interactive drawing tool designed for your meetings and events, piccles.com. Well, welcome back, everyone. And of course, we want to welcome our special guest today, Yvonne Basten. Hi, Yvonne.
Hi, Deborah. Thank you so much for having me here today.
Oh, we are so delighted. And I know it's been so long that we've been wanting to have you on this show because we've been booked all year long. We even have a wait list in 2022. But it just seemed like it was so long ago that we just had, you confirm on this date. And now here we are. So welcome all the way from Canada.
Thank you. Yes, I can't wait to share some little tidbits here with your audience.
Yes, and the viewers are going to want to know a lot about you. So why don't we start out with that? Because I love the name eventmanagement.guru. Can you explain that and what you do right off the bat here and what's going on in your world?
All right. Well, so eventmanagement.guru was born a few years ago. Literally over breakfast with one of my dear friends when we were talking shop, and she said, you need a strong name for your business, and I think this is what it's going to be. And she actually had her laptop with her, and so she started Googling some things and making sure that the name wasn't already taken, and poof, there it was. Sometimes it doesn't have to be hard, it can just be really easy. And so my clientele are established coaches who do a multiple day enrollment event. So where they teach for a few days, and during that time, they also make their offer for either their oftentimes year-long coaching program or their mastermind. And I usually help them during the event with high-level logistics. But my main focus is actually on sales, on converting the room. So that's what I do. And last year we, of course, the pandemic started, and then things slightly changed because I had to pivot from a in-person event company to a online event company.
Well, that's interesting because I don't know anyone else that does what you do. Maybe I'm not in that arena to know that. But for you to say, when the pandemic hit, it sounded like it hit you just as hard as any of us at the same time, right?
Yeah, it sure did, Deborah. I when it first hit, we were, of course, kind of, they mentioned in the global, world, on the news, etc., that we'll lock ourselves up for a couple of weeks, and then we'll be past all of this. And then a couple of weeks became a month, and then a month became multiple months, and it was about month two, or about 6, 7, 8 weeks in, when I was having a Zoom conversation with one of my close confidants, best girlfriends, coach, mentor. And I was literally spewing. I was so sick and tired of everything. I didn't see a way out. I basically told her that everybody could just go and figure it out on their own. I'm done with this. I'm not going to do this anymore. And she just let me rant. And, I went on for a couple of minutes. She was just sitting there, stone-faced Johnny, not, moving a muscle, just looking at me, which actually kind of got me going a little bit more. And then once I was done, there was this little pause, and she looked at me and she said, Yvonne, this is rather selfish. There's people out there that need your work. Boom.
And things started rolling from there.
Yeah, one of those moments where you get, virtually slapped over the head, and you just realize that, I just got to keep going. I got to figure a way out. And so I did.
It's interesting you say that, because I can relate, and I think a lot of our viewers can relate too, because we've been there. We just had this lull, and a depressive state, just about, if not already, to go, okay, like you said, it's only going to be a couple weeks. Okay, here's a month, and now here we are, 19, 20 months later, and still in that state. And although we're not alone, we're in this together, it's still devastating. And so for most of us that just wanted to give up and just quit and just stop, something inside of us just keeps saying, oh, we got to keep going. So that's good to hear that that's what happened. That's kind of the process you went through too.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I'm very grateful for her, because if it hadn't been for that conversation, I probably wouldn't be standing here talking to you.
Is that right?
Yeah, because I was ready to just be done.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's like this. We go through this, lull and high, and it's just been a very, very difficult, 19, 20 months that we're going on right now. But now it sounds like you're rocking and rolling.
Yeah, things are going great here in the headquarters of event management.guru.
That is
I feel very lucky, very blessed. I was able to, actually gain a whole bunch of new clients and maintain the ones that I had, and change them from doing in-person enrollment events to doing online enrollment events.
Good. Well, and then, so let's talk about that, because I love the fact that you believe in the power of hosting online enrollment events. Can you tell us a little bit about that? What does that all mean?
Well, Deborah, for me, it's actually something that I'm like, why is not everybody doing this? It's that simple, because there's so many advantages to being online. For starters, you can dramatically increase your reach, right? Because people can literally be online with you from coast to coast, and sometimes even globally, depending on what type of coach you are, what your reach is, how many people you know all over the world, kind of thing. Because I literally had a client who had people attend her now online enrollment event from Australia to Russia and anything in between. And so the expansion of your reach alone could be incredibly powerful. Then also cost, not having to rent, an expensive space, oftentimes either, like a country club or an expensive, nice hotel, with all the expenses that come from that, right? Like it's the catering, it's the, if you have a multiple day event and people are flying in, then they have to stay somewhere, oftentimes at your, the venue that you're hosting it in. And then, you have to have a room block. And, if you're not getting the numbers that you're hoping for, now you're on the hook for all those expenses. And also on the flip side of your, your attendees, they don't have to go anywhere. They don't have to travel. They don't have to, take care of create time for, finding a sitter for their children or their animals or whatever it is that they need to take care of while they're gone for multiple days, plus all the expenses, flying somewhere, staying in a hotel, all the food, etc. So just those two alone, I think for me would be reason enough to stay online.
Right. I'm exhausted just thinking about traveling now. After you just mentioned that, it's true because I don't have children, but I have a dog that I have to coordinate. And just that, let alone, I can't even imagine what parents really do have to go through. In other words, well, we do have some comments and some questions from your fans here. Lisa's on here right now. She says, "Do you think people want to go back to in-person events and activities because it's their comfort zone? Is there flexibility? Flexing more virtually, in other words."
Well, there are always people that want to, go back to in person. And to me, when I really look at it, it's oftentimes the most extroverted people that can't wait to be back in person so they can hug and love on everybody, right there. Because virtually that is different. It's harder. To maintain, to build that relationship, etc., with an online audience takes more work. And so, it will be one of those things where, some people might do hybrids where they do a little live audience plus a virtual audience. And then there will be, people on either side. People just say, I won't do another event in my life if it's not in person, or I will never, ever go back to in person. I'll stay online. So as with everything, there will be a mixed bag. And, but yeah, it's comfortable staying with what was, right? What we knew.
Right. Right. And we keep saying we're not going to go back to the old normal. In other words, we need to make our new normal, but people do have a tendency to, want to stay comfortable. And I think that's what's going to be really hard about going in person, because as much as we didn't want to be home, now we're going to go to in person. That means we have to leave our home. That's going to get uncomfortable.
Well, and a lot of people are, right? Like a lot of people are, from what I hear, they're not ready yet to be in a room with, whether it's 50 people, Deborah, or 100 people, or let alone more, traveling on planes. There are people that are, jumping on planes left, right, and center right now. And then there's people that kind of go like,
I'm not ready.
Get me in this tube that, flies me through the air with God knows what on board. So.
Yeah, just trying to find that comfort zone is really difficult right now. It definitely is. Well, earlier you were talking about audiences. So how do you build your relationship with audiences online? Because that's been one of the main challenges with virtual, is connecting. And so how do you do that? How do you build that relationship with others?
Well, there's quite a few different ways, Deborah, and thank you so much for that question. It's a great question. One of the things that my clients will do oftentimes is they will host laser coaching sessions going into before the event even starts. So they will have a small team of coaches. I'm often, part of that team where we help people solve a problem and support them and guide them, through that laser coaching session. So the laser coaching session is actually multifaceted in my books. Because we always have people fill out a survey prior to going into the laser coaching session. So it gives you a really good idea of actually who you have in the room and what their problems are. What are they dealing with? What's on their mind? So as a event host, you actually have that knowledge that you in an in-person event actually oftentimes won't have, because who sends out a survey to an in-person crowd, right? Nobody does. And so with the laser coaching session, you have that intel now to cater actually, your teachings towards your audience. But it also creates a relationship. So now they have a relationship with a person on the team. Right. And so I always encourage, my teams to reach out to these same people that they've already spoken with, via Zoom. And, once the event is going, to start, sending them little messages in chat. And then if there's certain people on the list that have not had one of those laser coaching sessions, because not always everybody will take advantage of those, then we split up the list and say, here, here you have 10 more people to reach out to. So they're not just a little tile, on the screen. They actually are building a relationship up with that team member. Because even during in-person events, the know, like, and trust factor is not just built from the front of the room. It's also built from the back of the room, from, the table, right, where your team is.
Right.
Because they have little conversations with them.
Right.
So you need to kind of find different ways to kind of replicate that without, having that in-person component there.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. And what I picked up from this, the key, I believe, is to do it's almost like a pre-work. It's before the event actually starts, you're building a relationship. So that way, when the event starts, then they're comfortable.
Yes, because that laser coaching is also it's what we call a stick strategy, right? It's also getting them, when I'm talking to them for, the 20 minutes that I do that laser coaching session, I'm also getting them excited about the 3-day event. And, I talk to them about that, and I'm like, I can't wait to see you tomorrow. And because it's usually, like a day or max 2 days before the actual event starts when you do those sessions. And so it's fabulous. The show up rate is increases because of it. And also the people staying throughout the event more consistently.
Right. Okay. Well, we do have a viewer that wants to a little bit more explanation. We're talking about Visibly Media. They want to quickly know, what is laser coaching? Is it more focused? Can you go a little bit deeper into that explanation?
I sure can. So the laser coaching sessions are 20-minute sessions with an individual on the team. So it can be the event host can be part of that team. Sometimes it's also just the team members that will facilitate those laser coaching sessions. As I mentioned earlier, we would send them a survey prior to the laser coaching session with a bunch of different questions. For starters, what if I could solve one problem for you during these 20 minutes, what would that be? And it actually makes them think, and I get information about what they do and what some of the other areas are that they're struggling in. What are some of their goals? Have they achieved them so far? So I have a fair amount of ammunition during, my 20 minutes to talk to them about, what's going on in their world. So it can be, oftentimes, some of my clients are, like, one of my clients is, for instance, a productivity coach. So, like, a lot of the coaching is geared towards, being productive, and where are they struggling with that, and then, so another of my clients is more a business type coach. She hosts a mastermind. And so, we focus, we slant the question slightly different, so that it really fits, what her client's needs potentially might be.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that makes a lot more sense. And I know our viewer probably really, really appreciated that, because there's so much underneath that umbrella. But yet, like you said, I think laser is the word, it just makes it known that it's just about getting focused. It's about, diving deeper into whatever subject matter that, your coaches are expertise under. So that is very cool. And how many coaches do you have?
It depends on the team. So sometimes we have, it's 3 of us. It can be more. It can be, depending on the size of the event.
Okay.
We kind of cater the team to that.
Yeah. Probably the bigger the event, the more the coaches.
Yeah, you would have to have a larger team. So you could have,
so.
like 10 or 20 people. Yeah.
Right.
If you have like hundreds of people there.
Right, exactly. And Lisa had to come back with another question. Is building relationships more important now for businesses than they have been in the past?
Yeah.
Maybe why?
Totally. Because, people, like I said earlier, when you go to an in-person event, there is, there are so many different touch points, right? Like you're as the event host, you're teaching from the front of the room, but then during breaks, people gather and meet up, and so you don't have any of that during a virtual event. So
Right.
it's, creating those different moments, those different, there's a whole bunch of other things people can do in order to build those relationships. For instance, doing a special call for people that have signed up through the early bird pricing, having a Facebook group, things like that, to continue to deepen those relationships, because that's, the only opportunity you have with them, really.
Right. And I think because we've been through this pandemic, I think we now realize how important relationships are.
Mhm.
I think sometimes in the past we've taken advantage of that. And now we're like, whoa, wait a minute. That person really did mean a lot to me personally, or to my business, or to others. So I think the whole relationship arena has been redefined and won't be taken advantage of as much as it had in the past. So yeah, I have to agree with you. Definitely
Yeah,
agree with you.
I think, if you think, Deborah, of an in-person event where there's more literally physical touch, right? Where people are
Right,
hugging each other. In the beginning, they might, if
right,
nobody knows one another, they might be a little shyer or maybe a little bit more reluctant. But as the days
right.
go by, there's oftentimes a big transformation that happens. And because people, like a lot of the people that I work with do very transformational work. So then, those relationships get deepened as the time goes by, and then you have that hugging. And that
Yeah,
is something that is so crucial to a relationship. I
sure.
we don't, we kind of forget how the
Right,
importance of that, actually.
right. Well, and my husband always says to me, he said, Deborah, you're in such a huggy kissy industry. And it is so true. We love the touch, if anything. And if
Yeah.
the technology in the virtual world can figure that one out,
Mhm.
I don't think we'll ever go back to in person, probably.
That's
But
right.
hey, we have a good friend of yours that had popped on. We're talking about cricket. She says
Hi,
hello to
Cricket.
us. Hi, cricket. We're so happy that you joined us.
How you
Thank you
doing?
so much. Because of cricket is the reason why you are here on the show. And speaking of relationships, right?
That's for sure.
That's a good example one right there, definitely. Well,
Yeah.
I want to move on to allowing our viewers to kind of pick your brain a little bit and providing them with some tips for their audiences to help elevate their success at these events. So, what are
Hmm.
some of those tips you can share that I know are just, golden nuggets that they're going to want to know about?
Yeah, and I might be stating, thanks for the question, Deborah. I might be stating the obvious here, but do not do this alone, right? Like it's creating a successful event. You need a team, you need other team members that are supporting you and helping you during this event. And, when you're starting small, when you're new in the world, as a coach, and you're testing the waters, um, because you're virtual, I think it's even more important that you're not the person, letting everybody into the Zoom room, dropping all the links in the chat box, monitoring the chat box, looking for questions, etc. It's too much and it's too distracting, and you should be focusing on what your expertise is, what your gift is to this world and to this planet. So even in the beginning, when you start with your first event, have your virtual assistant there to support you, to help you, and so you're not doing this all by yourself, is crucial. Another thing that I always like to share is the money is in the follow-up. When you host an event and the end is at Friday at 5 p.m., that does not mean that your event is over. There are potentially still people in that virtual room that could become your clients. So doing a proper follow-up by just doing other reach outs, talk to your team about, who was in the room and who do you feel could still be a great candidate for my program, and doing those reach outs afterwards is incredibly important. So don't think that when the clock strikes 5 at the end of your event, that your event is actually over. It's actually only just beginning. And then filling the room takes work. I've spoken to so many people over the years that said, Yvonne, I was hosting this webinar and nobody came. And I said, well, what did you do to try and fill your room? And they would say, well, I posted on social media. Well, that is not going to cut it. You have to, year round, grow your list. You have to network, speak on your subject matter, do personal reach outs, etc., to fill that room, because that is the only way that people will actually come together, and and where you can position yourself also through the networking and the speaking, etc., as you can position yourself as an expert. And so
Wow.
those, yeah.
Those are definitely golden nuggets. And so what I'm hearing though is to create a strong financial future in online events in particular, those tips that you just gave are different ways of making money, in other words. And yet all of it is needed to, you can't just do one or not the other. When you're really looking at doing events or conducting events, there is a strategy to it. And again, if you want to create that strong financial future in events, all those tips are going to be very important to put into play. So very well done. Those are definitely important to know. So thank you so much for sharing that. And so with this whole pandemic thing, because this is the elephant in the room, it really has given us an opportunity to pause and to redefine who we are and what we're going to be doing. And it sounds like that is the case with your situation as well. As a matter of fact, earlier in the show, Visibly Media said it really nicely. Glad you stayed with it. You had a fantastic mentor. Don't you believe mentors are, obviously you're a great testament to having this work for you because of your mentor. So what do you think about that? I think everybody should have a mentor to help along the way, especially during these times, right?
Totally. Yeah. I could not have, and visibility media, or visibly media is right. I would have not, I would have stopped when I, during those months, those initial months. And, now when I look back at that, I'm like, oh my God, Yvonne, like you would have thrown away your whole career. And,
Right.
and that's, so I'm super grateful. And yeah, the importance to having a mentor or mentors in your world, have other coaches, like I continue to learn, by showing up, in other people's programs and learning more and strengthening my skills, etc. Because it's in a ripple, it's in the end a ripple effect, right? Like what
Right.
I pour into myself, I'm able then to share with others, so they can have success as well.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. And so, knowing that everything has come back around for you and things are starting to pick up, which is such a blessing in disguise. Can you probably have a fresher look now, a clearer look at answering this question? What is the nicest part about working in the hospitality industry?
People.
Right?
People. That's the short and the long answer, Deborah. I love people, whether it's virtual or in person. I've really embraced the virtual myself. I can be on Zoom all day and it doesn't tire me out. I love it. I love connecting with people. I love having inspiring conversations, and yeah, so people make it. Yeah.
Yeah. I totally agree with you 2000%. There's no doubt. And so that's why we're so glad that we had the opportunity to talk with you here today. And I know people are going to want to stay connected with you at the same time. So I've got your email address here. So all the viewers out there, please connect with Yvonne, whether it's email or website. But is there any other ways that people can stay in touch with you as well?
I'm mainly on, well, I am on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram.
Yes,
Facebook
you
would be
are.
is one of my preferred methods, although I've actually been spending more and more time on LinkedIn as well. You can send me a private message there, friend me, smoke signals, anything works.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, the event management guru, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so glad to have Yvonne finally here on this show. Thank you so much for sharing your beautiful wisdom. And gosh, I can't wait to get up to Calgary to see you someday.
I can't wait to host you. Please do let me
You
know when
got
you're
it.
in town.
You got it. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate having you on the show.
You're very welcome. Thanks again for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Well, there you go. See, did I not tell you how brilliant and beautiful Yvonne Basten is? Because she really knows her stuff. That's why she's called the event management guru. So I just want to say thank you so much for being here with us on this show, because I know it's always something to learn, right? And yet we want to learn from you as well. So we want to hear from you. If you want to stay in touch, please get in touch with us and throw us out some comments, some suggestions. And of course, we are looking for new sponsors for 2022, because we'd love to keep this show going. So do that by just contacting us at hello@hospitalitytodaylive.com. And if you want to see this show again, this episode, by all means, there will be a replay, and it's going to be on all your favorite social media platforms. So take a look at this conversation again with Yvonne, and or even share it with somebody that didn't get a chance to see it as well. And so we want to make sure that you know that we are always here, same time, every Tuesday. So we cannot wait until we see you next week, as well, as we're starting to close out the year. So don't go away. We'll definitely be back next Tuesday. So other than that, I want to say thank you so much for being here with us. I'm Deborah Gardner, right here with Hospitality Today Live. And remember, if you're thinking about it, we are talking about it right here on Hospitality Today Live. Have a great week, everybody.